Pledge allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
President Barton,
Present.
Vice President Zoba,
Present.
Commissioner Scholar, present, Commissioner Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Santi, Solicitor Lovato.
Here.
Manager Patterson. Here.
Where's Tony?
Thank you. I need an approval of the minutes, a motion to approve the minutes of September 21st legislative meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the September 21st legislative meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. COG update.
Okay. So, first of all, let me preface this by saying that RJ White, the president of the Quaker Valley COG, is here tonight. So I'd like to welcome RJ and sort of preface everything that we say by saying that I'm trying very hard to have this conversation in public rather than an executive session. So if there's some degree of dancing around certain issues, you'll recognize why that is. Last week, RJ got an email from Allegheny County. What was the name of the office?
The Department of Economic Development.
The Allegheny County Department of Economic Development. And it was an audit report. This is not a financial audit. This is an audit with respect to the compliance of our grants. Am I saying that accurately?
Yes, it
Okay.
was a performance audit.
And the audit report was lengthy. It had, I think, 14 findings and 2 qualifications. Did I have that right?
Switch it around.
14 qualifications and 2 findings, or something to that effect. So we had a meeting late Friday night to discuss the findings of this audit report. And Harlan was there. It was in Leetsdale. We were all there. It was a duly advertised meeting. And during that meeting, in the public session, on audio record, the executive director of the COG made some comments that were concerning. And shortly after that, we had a executive session of the COG board of directors. And following that executive session of the COG board of directors, the executive director was suspended without pay, pending the outcome of a investigation by Harlan, who also is if you haven't noticed, he's the solicitor of the COG as well. So at this point, the executive director has been suspended without pay indefinitely. There is an audit report that has all of these findings and qualifications. And Harlan is in the midst of an investigation into these statements that were made by the executive director on the record. So that's where we stand with the COG. My question and the reason that RJ is here tonight is that I think that RJ, we get a lot of yucks about the COG here behind the COG's back. We come here and we talk a lot about the dinner and about all sorts of things, and it is generally laughable. But I think that the time to stop laughing about the COG has come, and I think we need to take serious stock of whether we have value from our participation in the COG, whether it's worthwhile to pull out of the COG, whether it's worthwhile to try to find another COG to participate in, or whether we should behave like Swickley Heights and just live on an island. And one of the reasons that I think that this is significant right now is that there are several questions facing the COG. One of which is what will happen to John. And of course, we don't know that, and we can't really comment on that because there's an ongoing investigation. But even beyond that, the audit report is still out there, and the COG is going to have to resolve these findings, qualifications, and places for remedial action under the audit report. And without an executive director to do that work, right now the COG has a secretary. I guess she's an office manager at this point. The COG has an office manager, and the rest is RJ and the board of directors. So I don't know how we can possibly think that if we stay with the COG, it is going to resolve its audit issues short of significant involvement from, as far as Aleppo is concerned, me and Gwen. And I think that's sort of, I've said to Gwen and RJ both independently, I really go back and forth between the time that this all came to a head on Friday night. There's times where I say to myself, this is just nuts. There is no way we can continue to participate in this COG. It's a sinking ship. We should be the first to jump off because it's going to fall apart. And the last one on the ship is going to be the one that's left trying to keep the issues together or fold up the COG. On the other hand, I think to myself, this may be an opportunity to really reshape the COG and really make it something that is not what it's been in the past, and make it something that is more like what a COG should be. So Gwen put together this cost-benefit analysis, and you know, we can go through this very briefly here. The annual dues to the COG are $1,650. That's really not a lot. So that's the hard cost. And again, I would say that the only thing that this cost-benefit analysis doesn't take into account are the soft costs, and especially the go-forward soft costs, recognizing that this audit's in place and that we or Gwen are going to have to do a lot of work to try to help the COG through this. But then if we turn to look at the benefits include participation in the Shea COG salt contract. And so that you understand how that works, we as the Quaker Valley COG glob onto the Shea COG, which is the Shaler COG. Is that South Hills area COG? Am I saying this correctly? That they negotiate the contract and we are annexed onto that contract.
Every COG in this county piggybacks onto the Shea COG.
Every COG in the county. Okay, so the Shea COG, and you'll see here the Shea COG price compares to the state contract price for salt, which we talked about when we approved our salt contract this year. I said I think we need to know what the state contract price is, and Gwen did a yeoman's work to make sure that we had those numbers. And when you look, it's really not that different. We're not really getting that much of an improved price. Now, somebody, and maybe it'll be JR when I let him talk, will say that part of what you get with the COG salt price that you don't get with the state is guaranteed delivery. But the flip side to that is that we've had failed deliveries and we've not remedied them. Now, I think that a lot of that is probably our fault for not pursuing that, but I'm just saying I think it's to some degree a distinction without a difference. Okay, if you keep moving on, participation in garbage and recycling contract group bid. The COG administers that contract, and there is allegedly some power of collective bargaining. Gwen has an analysis here, and if we want to talk about that, I'll let Gwen explain where she thinks the pluses and minuses are in terms of the garbage and recycling. If you turn the page, the top, the CDBG grant money, when eligible, you know, I'll point out that Gwen says we used two unsound structures 8 years ago. We got one grant 8 years ago, and then the water line in Rhodes Avenue in 2012. Ironically, the water line in Rhodes Avenue in 2012 is one of the issues in the QV COG audit report. So there's some question as to, and basically what they say is that that grant money that the Aleppo Township Authority got in 2012 was based on a needs assessment, a income assessment. And to make that income assessment, they went and did surveys of the municipalities, and the auditors raised question as to whether the surveys were calculated correctly. You agree with?
Yes, but they did say, if I remember correctly, that even if our calculations were incorrect, they recalculated them according to their standards, and the project was still eligible.
I was going to get to that. That yes, our project was still eligible. So it was kind of a nitpicky finding in the audit, because they were basically saying, we don't think you did the math correctly to get where you got, but you still got to the right place anyhow.
Was that federal money?
So my understanding of how these grants all work is that there is a lot of this comes from federal money. It goes from the feds to the state, to the county, to the COG, to the township. So it rolls downhill, as so many lovely things do. And the fact that it's federal money is a little bit of the problem with a lot of this, is that there are concerns that some of this has to do with federal funds. But getting back to the grants, the bottom line is that Aleppo is not frequently eligible for the types of grants that the COG administers, because a lot of them are based on need. They're need tested, and they're for the type of improvements that Aleppo doesn't typically have. The next bullet here is the semi-annual COG-wide recycling event, which is an event that's held twice a year in different COG communities, and our member municipalities residents are permitted to come, sometimes for a fee, sometimes for a low fee, sometimes free, drop off certain things to be recycled, TVs, paint, and whatnot. I don't know that we have any. I don't know that we got any statistics from the last one on municipal involvement. They tried to track that, but I don't think that they knew. And to be fair, the last one was in Bellevue, Avalon. So it wasn't really targeted at this end of the COG. But the next one is in Sewickley, and it frequently is a very popular event. And then the next two are sort of the undefinable COG benefits. Information sharing with fellow communities through board meetings and through managers meetings. So that it's clear, the board of directors meets once a month, and the managers and secretaries also meet once a month. Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes it's been said that there are two different COGs. There's the board of directors and there's the manager and secretaries. The managers and secretaries seem to think that the COG does well and allows them to communicate.
Provides a benefit to us.
To the managers and secretaries. The board of directors seems to be a little more dysfunctional, and that seems to be a little bit more rocky. And then again, the group purchasing power. So with that, RJ, I'll turn it over to you and let you make a pitch. I mean, I kind of appreciate that RJ is here, because I can perhaps focus more on the negatives and allow him to be more of the salesperson and focus on the
Title, what's his?
He is the president of the board of directors of the COG. So he's an elected official from Kilbuck, Ben Avon, excuse me. And he is, as I am, a delegate to the COG, and within the COG, he's been elected as the president of the board of directors.
Good for you.
Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you for having me tonight. These are some trying times for our COG. Over the past 2 years or thereabouts, we've undergone pretty significant transition. I'm sure, Matt, you brought everyone up to speed on them, and I assure you I'm not as awful as you might make me out to be. I'm not a dictator.
They didn't know you existed until 5 minutes ago. So.
Oh, all right, that works too. I think the benefit summary that you, Glenn, have prepared for the commission speaks for itself. If for no other reason, if you want to be part of the COG for no other reason, the garbage contract saves you more than 10 times what you pay. each year in dues. Now, I certainly understand the frustrations that you've presented, Matt. I feel them every day. I do. And I don't think anyone wants to have a dysfunctional COG. But I think we are at a point where this COG can become something much greater than what it is. We're at a point where we're probably going to have a leadership change. The professional administrator is probably going to change. And I think that presents many great opportunities. And it'll finally be time for the managers and secretaries to steer the direction of the COG and not the elected officials. COGs are administrative entities. We're not here to lobby Harrisburg. We're here to save you money on road salt and toilet paper. And now, hopefully, we can do that.
Thanks.
Well, just a couple of quick things without any time to study. It seems that from 2011 forward, the state contract for salt has been less.
Yes, yes.
And I'm concerned that the solid waste savings are more a factor of distance between houses. In other words, I'm not sure it's apples to apples.
Right. Well, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the only way to do a true comparison would be to be part of the joint contract and then bid your own contract separately. That would probably be the only way to get a true comparison.
Because I'm sure you're somewhat familiar between Masonic Village and Swickley Heights Manor. You have two very concentrated areas that represent 60–70% of the population. Then for waste management, both communities are boom per household. So I would wonder if that's a fair apples to apples comparison. Matter of fact, I'm almost sure it's not.
Does Masonic Village?
Yeah.
They use our
villas.
waste, they use municipal waste
Just the
management?
villas. The apartment houses do not. They have a private contractor because they don't have individual.
But again,
Just the villas. We collect villas,
Villas.
trash and recycling at the villas.
it's
Right.
very concentrated, therefore very inexpensive.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that the household comparison is a fair comparison.
The collectors run down the street. It's amazing.
Well, in the manor,
Yeah,
it's boop, boop, boop.
yeah.
And then the grants, would we have not been able to get those grants independently?
Yes, that is correct.
We would not have.
That is correct.
So the COG has a pathway to grants that the township does not.
Community development monies can only be distributed through COGS.
It's a good question and a good answer. I didn't know that.
I think Matt hit it on the button. I think, a crisis is always a good opportunity for change. Matter of fact, sometimes it's the only time it changes. And you're telling me that the new executive director more than likely will,
Well, let's steer clear of any
okay,
hypothetical involving that.
right. This may be, is there any financial consequence to this
That would
township
be my question.
as a result of this audit?
No.
That was my question.
The sole responsibility to the county is on COG. We are the ones who bear all the liability.
And if the COG has no money in the bank,
We go under. We don't come to you.
you agree?
I don't disagree. I don't know enough about it to endorse that opinion, and it's something that Harlan and I have talked about, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but
And then
like for example, one of the Aleppo Township Authority Rhodes Avenue grant, they talked about and they said you would still be eligible for this. There is, however, in the audit report, another grant that was in Killbuck? Hayesville, where they are saying if you can't do certain things within 30 days, you, the COG, are liable to have to return all of the grant money to the tune of $54,000.
Yes.
And I'm not clear. Your thought is that only the COG would have to do that, and that would never roll back to the municipality. And how would the COG? So if the COG got hit with a $54,000 bill, how would it pay that?
That's a very good question.
So the COG can actually file for bankruptcy.
Right.
Well, we're a nonprofit corporation, technically speaking, so I suppose we could.
I
Do you
mean,
have
if you
assets?
don't have any money,
No assets. What's the annual budget of the COG?
It's about 150,000, pretty small.
But that's $150,000 not including the grant money?
Correct.
And that 150,000 comes from municipal or other,
It's municipal, certain fees we collect, dues we collect.
like our
Also-
1650?
And I'll qualify what I said to you just a moment ago, Matt. Part of it is the administrative fee that we get from the Department of Economic Development
Okay.
to administer the grant. So part of it is CD money.
So of the 150,000, give or take, the percentage you receive from annual
Probably.
dues is,
Minuscule. Maybe not even 20%.
and are your primary funders more upset than we are?
Well, the primary funder is economic development, and with that letter, I would say they're fairly upset.
Right.
Though I will say this, Harlan, our solicitor, did speak with economic development, and they are prepared to work with us as partners to work through these issues. They're not trying to shut us down or trying to run us out of town. They're prepared to help us.
And how long have you been there on the board?
I've been a board member and board president for just under 2 years.
Okay.
He was elected my first board meeting.
Okay.
So I don't know, I mean, I don't have it, Gwen asked me what my expectation was for this conversation tonight. I don't know that I have an expectation, and it's a workshop meeting. I don't know that I necessarily want to put any business up for an action. But I think we need to think about it and
so if
Perhaps.
there is,
be prepared to make a vote on something on Monday.
if there is no financial liability to this board or to any other member board, and let's just hypothetically say that you're hit with a $50,000 whatever. There's no way that you can go to each board member that represents a community and say, we've got to divvy this responsibility between all of these river communities.
Knowing how litigious American society is, I suppose someone could try to do that. Whether or not we actually could is the question for the lawyers. They'll have
And
to
I
have it.
thought that.
And I think there's a separate sort of parallel question, Joanne, to what you're asking. We were talking about this before the meeting, that it may be that some professional help is needed for the COG. It may be that a consulting firm that could help answer some of these questions would be in order. Of course, that would cost money, and of course, that's not in the COG budget. And I could see a proposal in the next few months where we say, we go to each municipality and we say, can we have a special assessment and pony up a little bit of extra money so that we can do this? But I don't think I'm not
That's
hearing,
not the same as I'm asking.
right.
Well, if I could say, I think with the partners that we have at the county and state level, we would do what we can to get grants for that before we would come to the towns and ask for any extra money.
I think if Allegheny County Community Economic Development is now aware of the situation, they have pockets sufficient to assist. I think that's a good sign. If in 2 weeks they were to write you a letter saying you're a lost cause, that's an obvious conclusion.
Who should be the one to actually do the dirty work to clean this up? Can you hire somebody to direct it? Does it mean that one of the townships, like, could be, say, Aleppo should dig in and try to straighten this out?
Oh, it sounds like this economic group
Yeah.
is going to come to the rescue.
Well, they're sufficient.
They are, and I will say that managers and secretaries in other communities have stepped up and offered their services and expertise to help us during this time.
Mhm.
Yeah, that said though, Rod, I think that's exactly the concern that I have, is that I'm not convinced that this is going to be cleaned up without heavy involvement from our perspective, from Gwen and from me.
Mhm.
And I'm not so quick to volunteer to get on a task force to fix the cog.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Oh, rewarding.
Has Allegheny County Community Economic Development given you anything in writing that states that support?
Not at this time. No, not at this time.
If they should, would we be entitled to see a copy of that, or could we have a?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And again, I think some of this is, and some of the go forward plan, RJ and Harlan have a plan for at least the short term. And I think some of that, without out and saying it, involves some of the employment issues that would require an executive session.
Yep. And I guess one last thing, you're an elected official in Ben Avon.
Yes.
What is your position relative to Ben Avon's continued participation?
I am of the opinion that even with everything that's going on, it's still worthwhile.
You're going to slug it out.
We're going to slug it out. It does benefit us. It
Okay.
does.
How much does Ben Avon get in grant money?
Next year, we're slated to get $8,000. We haven't applied for a CDBG grant in a number of years, only because we didn't have any qualified projects. But we have received over the last 10 years, well over $100,000. So the grants alone have paid for our dues.
Right.
Not to mention the added benefits of the contracts on recycling day.
Which municipalities are the biggest beneficiaries of the grants? You know, could you tell that off the top of your head?
Well, at least this year, it's Bellevue. Bellevue received a $300,000 streetscape grant.
Was that for their main drag?
Yes. They're the biggest beneficiary.
Can I ask, and you may not wish to share or you may not know, but other members of the COG, have you sensed an interest for support? Or maybe you don't know, maybe nobody's,
Support meaning they're
Meaning
willing to
keep-
stick around and.
you're right.
Nothing outright, though I think people's continued interest means that they still feel value in participating, if nothing else.
So
And then
you're
Just a really basic, who's in the COG? Aleppo, Bellevue, Ben Avon.
Yes, all of the municipalities in the Avonworth School District except Ben Avon Heights and Ohio Township, both municipalities in the Northgate School District, and all of the municipalities in the Quaker Valley School District with the exception of Swickley Heights and Swickley Hills, totaling 14.
Okay.
And sort of to your point, I would say, just spitballing, that Killbrook is teetering on leaving the COG. I would say Edgeworth is teetering. And other than that, I think the rest seem fairly certain. Oh, who's the past Vicky?
Avalon.
Avalon.
Mhm.
Do you get a sense that Vicky is going to get replaced?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
She's a representative?
She's a representative that was personally frustrated and personally hurt over the decision that the board made with respect to the dinner. So she kind of has said that she's not going to come back, and she was not at our last meeting, but that could have been just a scheduling issue. But I don't think that means that the municipality is.
I think all of us being municipal officials know that it's always the smallest issues that cause the biggest uproars.
You know, it's.
And so you may not be able to answer this question either. And this just gives me a clue as the talent you can employ. If the position of executive director were posted publicly, what would the offering salary be?
I don't think we should talk about that right now.
All right.
I'll defer to you, Matt.
Yeah, I think that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, I'm just trying to judge the talent.
I hear you.
Good.
Okay.
If I can add one last thing. The recycling day coming up in a couple of weeks, it's still going on. Swiftly has been kind enough to step up and administer it or manage it that day. So it's still going on.
That's a very busy day. I was
It
there.
is.
Yeah, it was very well used.
I enjoy that day, I'll tell you.
What day is that?
It's November 7th, I believe, is the first
Oh, that's a
Saturday in
shame.
November.
Won't be here.
Last year, the last one, it was just so busy.
In Sewickley, last one.
Yeah, oh. Cars were lined up for blocks.
Yes, they were. Yes, they
And
were.
just a little comment on that. We talked about the waste management individual pickup. So my wife and I happened to use it.
I've
You
used
use
it.
Oh, okay, good.
I've used it.
And
Well, I think we got, what did we looked, I think we had 15 uses in 2014.
right.
So if you used it, and I used it,
Yeah.
then that makes 3.
I was just saying it worked.
is
I was
It
great.
does.
surprised.
No, it works beautifully, and that's part of the frustration that the COG has had with waste management. The COG has had with waste management is that we think it's a great service, and we're a little frustrated that they don't do more to publicize it.
Well, it needs communication.
Yeah.
And I
It's
think
probably a
that needs
loser.
have you put anything out?
We have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it does work.
Yeah.
And it's
You
very
need big
nice.
amounts of,
If you have household, we pay $1 per household per month, right? Which is not an insignificant sum. And in exchange for that, we in Aleppo and other communities that have opted into this, because some have opted out to save the $1 per household per month. You can call a number at Waste Management
Schedule.
and schedule a pickup for your household hazardous waste. So if you've got a gallon of paint sitting around and you don't want to wait for the
Oil.
Computers, TVs.
they'll take all sorts of stuff.
well, I'm impressed. People move in and out, and whenever that happens, there's humongous amount of stuff piled in front of that person's house. And they seem to take it.
But I got a shake of agreement. It's a loser for waste management. They don't want to publicize it because that $12 from my household did not cover the cost of taking my goods away.
I suspect that's true. I suspect this is exactly why we don't get more participation from
Right.
them in terms of communicating it, is that anything that they do to make it communicated just lowers their
They
margins.
lose.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
But they're a green company now. So. All right.
Thanks, RJ.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anytime you have questions or anything or like me to attend, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to. And during this transition time, we remain committed to providing services. We aim for no service interruptions at all.
Thank you.
It's my old neighborhood, been at it 18
Anything else on
years.
that?
No, thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you. It's very challenging. Discussion of codification, is that the way to pronounce it?
I think so.
Ordinance?
I've heard it both ways. Harlan said that he will have a draft for a review, for your review next week. You need to have an introduction period where you need to be aware of it 30 days before it can be adopted. So there's a slightly longer time period for public, for your knowledge of it and for the advertising than a regular ordinance, because it's, when you do this, you're kind of basically repealing some old ordinances and putting them all into one book, and this is your book of ordinances, so it streamlines stuff. So he will have that for your review for Monday night, then it will be advertised, and the goal will have it to be adopted in December. And we do have the actual hardback draft books here as well. And then once the process is complete, we purchase the option of having all the ordinances online on our website. So the entire ordinance book will be searchable through our website.
Hallelujah.
The as changes occur, do you replace the pages in the book?
You can replace the pages in the book, but what you, not without running through and adopting it again. So what you do is you hold your new ones, we can post them separately. And then every certain number of years, you go through and just re-adopt, make the updates part of the official record.
But the
So you
book,
can still adopt ordinances in between. They're just
Mhm.
listed singly and added to the back until the whole book is re-adopted.
the book isn't really the main event, though. The main event, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, what's that? The main event is online, exactly, and it does that all seamlessly. It just, stuff comes in, stuff goes
You
out.
can search by word, you
Yeah.
can, keyword.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Now, you said that the goal is to have the hearing and ordinance adoption at the December meeting?
Because
Because
you
your
have,
memo says November.
it does, because I thought we'd have it today.
I see.
So, you need 30 days, and to have it by next week, we miss it, the window for November by about 2 days. So we'll have to do it in December.
Okay. Well, Harlan's all of a sudden become preoccupied with an investigation, so.
So
I
yeah,
guess
push
he's-
things around a little bit, I think.
Okay, sounds good. That's great. Thank you. Thank you,
No.
Harlan.
Discussion of 216 budget workshop.
I started the budget, and the finance chair and I will be meeting to go over it, preliminary draft, and we'll have a draft to you soon. And what we always do is select a date or two in end of December, just in case for some reason we're unable to pass the budget by the normal December meeting dates. Knock on this laminate wood, we've never had to use them, but we want to select the dates in December, and I will advertise them as the date gets closer if we need to have them, but we just need to pick some days just in case, because we have to adopt the budget by December 31st. So what days of your Christmas break would you like to give up to come in here and talk about the budget? And December 28th and 29th? It's a Monday and a Tuesday? 29, 30? I mean,
Wait, just
we
a-
really will work not to use these, but we just have to have the
I hear
dates
you.
reserved.
Do Monday and Tuesday.
And those meetings would be to finalize if we have not.
Finalize and to adopt, yes. So they would have to be public meetings where we need 3 commissioners to formally adopt the budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any
28th,
day.
29th?
We
We're
won't,
talking
we,
that-
we won't need them.
I really hope. Okay,
That's fine with me.
I'll just have in my mind the 28th and 29th, and if we get close, we'll advertise if we have to.
Yep.
Discussion of liquid fuels audit.
This is just to tell you that we had one. We have one every year. They come in and the state comes in, and this is the money from the state, the road money. And they come in and look and see what we spent it on, and make sure our forms are right. We made the motions in the minutes. That's why we always have to have the liquid fuels transfers as a separate line item in the minutes when we do them. And it went fine. We've had no findings and no anything. It's not the official report that comes from the state's office yet, but I signed off on the no comments, no findings, everything's fine. We just buy salt, so it's a simple.
Yeah, good.
What about the liquid fuels for School Street?
We are not eligible, never have been, because it's not in our municipality. That's a little no zone. And while it's in Glenfield, they don't own it, so they don't get it either, so no one gets it. It wouldn't be very much money. We did the math, and we're not losing thousands of dollars. We're losing
Okay,
a couple $100 at most. So no one gets liquid fuels for schools.
all right. It's a nice bumpy road, which I always think, should I go down that road or should I go down here? Okay. Discussion of MS4 permit review.
Okay. MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. And we have that permit because we have separate storm and we don't have a combined sewer and stormwater system. And we have a permit that allows us certain kinds of outfalls, but it also requires that we monitor them. And right now, what they're doing, their big push is the public education component. So we had 2 members of the DEP inspections come out and talk to us about what our public information portion has been, and they did a site visit of the surroundings of the garage. And they were generally pleased with the surroundings of the garage. They had 1 or 2 comments. They asked to put in a silt sock in one of the catch basins to catch some of the runoff, to just, help drain some of the silt. But other than that, the site visit was fine. They felt that the way we stored oil and the gas tank and everything, that with a diesel tank out there, that it was all fine. We do need to have some improvements on the public information campaign. Ben was here, the engineer was here for this also. And so we went through and, do you have this? Do you not have this? How are you going to do this? So according to Ben, we have 5 years to make sure that we become fully compliant with all this. The inspectors were very nice, and they gave us guidance on where to find the information and some suggestions on what to do and what kind of binder to keep everything in for the next inspection. So we are going to start working on that. Ben said that it would be good to put a little money in the budget for that, the engineering. So there's some components that they should work on versus just I should work on, and there's some stuff I'll do, and we'll get going. We did already have a map that KLH did several years ago that identified the outfalls, and HRG is going to be able to tweak it. There's another layer that needs to go into that map, but we have the base map already, so that was good.
Are you comfortable with what you heard?
Yes. I mean, there's stuff that we will need HRG to do, so there will be some money involved, but it was a good site visit. And
Just for edification, Gwen and I met with HRG to discuss next year's engineering budget, to discuss the road plan. And they seem to be on top of this and seem to be able to give Gwen the professional advice she needs.
yes. They're working on it in many of their communities.
Okay. Unfinished business.
A general comment about unfinished business. Matt and I have discussed this. Gwen and Kim and I have discussed this. I've asked Kim and Gwen, with Matt's and my assistance, when we have unfinished business, to list them and to list the person that's responsible for that. So road study, HRG, pension review, Gwen, that sort of thing. Because at least for me, it's difficult to keep track of them on a daily basis. So I think just under unfinished business now, we're going to try and provide more detail, just so we're all refreshed,
Okay, good.
right?
Good.
So in other words, every time we say this is going to happen, except those things that happen in executive session, it'll be listed, not only the task, but the responsibility.
How about the McCoy Place road signs?
Tom actually, asked me to ride out with him. We're gonna ride out, look at what we have, look at the location of what we have, sit there, see what we have, and actually sketch out the one with the drawing that will order to go, and it's gonna be a different color, or we're gonna make it hot pink or something, I don't know. But we're gonna make the map drawing clear so that you can read the words as you're driving by. We did send out the letters to all of the 18 affected properties explaining some of what we're going to be doing, and asking people to be very careful about stating south, explaining that the neighborhood is slightly weirdly numbered, and asking everybody to work. And we identified who their partner was, in case they didn't know the name and address, so that they could swap mail, because sometimes things get mixed up. So
You didn't hear it?
didn't have any feedback either way from that.
I haven't heard.
Okay. Citizen participate.
Whoop, new business.
What?
I have a few new.
I have one, Matt, real quick.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Dobler, with the last slot at the Allegheny League of Municipalities Conference, in competition with the County Executive Fitzgerald, District Attorney Zapala, did Aleppo Township well. He made a presentation on how we video and put on the web through YouTube all of our meetings. My wife and I were sitting in the audience, and I would say for the first 2 minutes, there was a lot of pullback, like this is going somewhere I don't want to go. Matt provided them with a detailed list of all the equipment we bought. He did space shifting, time shifting, and the last one is selectability. By the time the session was finished, and this was last session before lunch when everybody's trying to get away, people were briskly walking up to the podium to take what Matt had offered, which was a list of the equipment, and sign your name up, and I'll help you put this in place. So it was a bravo. It was one of the best presentations at the conference, and Aleppo should be proud of that. I mean that sincerely.
Well, thank you.
So my question is, has there been any follow-up from the follow-up?
No, not to say.
Okay.
Nothing worthwhile.
But I mean,
There's been chatter. There's been good chat, which is the
Yeah.
whole point, right? It's.
But
when
woke
you
up a lot of
first
people.
when you first started to talk, you could read the audience. We heard little comments, like, yeah, I'd like to see Tony's meetings. There was a lot of snide remarks, and there was also kind of, we don't want the public to know, and I mean that. And by the time his presentation was over, more people, I believe, got it than would resist it. It was very well done.
Great.
Oh, we thank you.
Well, no, thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
It was a good one.
Thank you. And I'd like to build on that. Harlan and I were talking, and Harlan suggested that it's worthwhile for us to make a report and put on record what we learned at that presentation. And I know I did this last year when I went, but it's worth saying that costs $600 a participant.
Like about if you stay, then eat.
Yeah, so I mean, it's $800 per participant. It's worth us telling the board and the community where that $800 went, because it's worthwhile money. So Thursday night we started off, and the presentation was on body cameras. And as I said last year, part of the problem with this convention is that we don't have a police force. We don't have unfunded pension obligations. So a lot of this is not relevant to us. However, it gets you thinking, and while we don't have a police force here, we have police. And this conversation of body cameras, I think, is interesting. And I think it is one that would be interesting to see what the chief is doing and what the Ohio Township Police Department is doing. But the idea is that if you equip your municipal officers with body cameras, then your likelihood of getting sued goes down dramatically. And really, they had some statistics that were talking about the cost of the cameras and this system. It's more than just the cameras; it's the ongoing storage. It's being able to keep all this available. It's quickly outweighed by saving yourself one lawsuit. If you save yourself one lawsuit, then you've done well. So,
Isn't there federal money for body cameras? I thought there was money.
I don't remember hearing that, but that it could be.
Probably for cities.
Or state, yeah.
We went into, they talked again about Act 47. This is now on to Friday. That's really not relevant to us. The MAP program, intergovernmental assistance, again, it's not really relevant to us. Keystone Communities and their grant increases, not relevant to us. One of the people that I thought was relevant to us was Jason Davlek, who is the executive director of the Allegheny County League of Municipalities. And would you agree that he seemed like he had his stuff together? He seemed like somebody that
He wants to help.
Yeah, he seemed like somebody that we should be interested in tapping. Have you heard it? Have you talked to him? Or
I've not met him yet, but I do have his card.
I think he's a resource that we should.
I asked him a specific question, if he could help us on a specific event. It was the emergency management plan to bring us into. And not only did he say, call me, which anybody can say, he caught me in the hallway afterwards. And quite frankly, I didn't recognize him the second time. I said, who are you? But he came up and he said, make sure you call me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of new to the league.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things I recognize is it's worth taking advantage of those people.
Yeah.
They're there to help us. Let's use them.
Yeah, that was really one of the take homes that I thought, is that we should be making a better effort to take advantage of them. There was a conversation about local government regulation of firearms, which is to say, the local government is not permitted to regulate firearms. And that could have been the end of that conversation, but they talked about it for quite a while. Again, human relations, they talk about training and development. They talk about the cash bonuses. They talk about flexible hours. Again, these are for municipalities that have much larger communities and much larger, collective bargaining. There was a conversation on regulation of drones at the municipal level, recognizing that unmanned aircraft is getting very popular, and are there things that we should be doing with respect to regulating drones? Again, similar to guns, I kind of got the takeaway from it was leave it alone and let the feds deal with it. They're going to be dealing with it on their own.
Where some municipalities have a problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And about the gun one, the presenter was suing a town
Who
for
had-
passing a law more restrictive than the
Correct.
state.
Correct. The FAA, though, does not regulate recreational use at this point of the drones, which is where the municipalities were stepping in. Okay. The one place where I thought there was something that was worth us thinking about was that there was a presentation on mini cell phone towers. And this all came up. I wasn't involved in government. You can tell me, those of you who have been around for a little longer, that about 10 years ago, cell phone towers became an issue, and everybody went and said that you need to put ordinances on your books to regulate cell phone towers. And a lot of this has to do with the notion of NIMBYism, and people don't want things in their backyard. The presenter with these mini cell phone towers suggested that there's a new family of cell phone towers that are smaller than what was typically put out there, and probably our existing ordinances don't cover them. So there's this great concern, and the cautionary tale was there was a municipality, and one morning a resident woke up and there was a company that was sitting there getting ready to drill and put this thing in that day, and there's no
A 40-foot fiberglass tower.
right in her front yard. Now, there's two sides to this. There's two sides to every coin, and of course, the take is that those mini cell phone towers are what make it so that your cell phone works everywhere you go, and especially in neighborhoods like ours where you got hills everywhere. If you don't have cell towers, you don't get cell reception. And there's no doubt that the person that was making this speech was trying to pitch their services. So I take it sort of with a grain of salt. I don't know that it's something that we necessarily need to run out. And of course, they were saying, we'll do an inspection of your ordinances. We'll be happy to come out and look at them and tell you exactly what you need to hire us to do. I don't know that we're at that point, but it's something to think about. Do you know what our ordinances are with respect to cell phones?
We don't, we do address full-size cell towers, we do not address mini.
And you noted that. I saw you write something.
I did know that mini cell phone.
Yeah. There was a side thought to that. I've talked to Gwen about it before. I think they're a not-for-profit called Scenic Pittsburgh, and they've asked to come here. I haven't followed up on the lit billboards to make sure you're prepared ordinance-wise to prevent or allow these enormous billboards. I'm going to talk to them about their interest in expanding, because mini cell towers could certainly fit into Scenic Pittsburgh. So would you write Scenic Pittsburgh down too for my benefit? So in other words, I think there might be other groups out there that would provide a similar service.
I'm sure there would be.
Okay.
But notwithstanding the fact that as I go through this list, I say it's not relevant to us, it's not relevant to us, it's not relevant to us. I want to reiterate something that I said last time and I said 2 months ago, which is that this is a good experience. It really is, and I was so grateful that George was up there, because it meant that in the lunchtime, there's somebody to talk to while this stuff is all active in your brain. while you're hearing the words be spoken, even if they're not relevant because you don't have a collective bargaining agreement that you need to worry about. You're thinking about these things, and to come out and have people to talk to is tremendously helpful. And I, once again, would encourage everybody to think about doing this next year. And Gwen, I would encourage you to go next year. I know Harlan's been trying to put a hard push on you, and I
I was
joined.
gonna schedule, I would love, I mean, I.
But I'll tell you the other
content,
thing.
just-
Matt and I openly discussed this. I am very reluctant to spend taxpayer money, my own money, anybody's money on something that I think isn't of value. Very reluctant. And Matt and I discussed it openly, so we were kind of reviewing our own involvement to see if we truly thought it was worth it. I'm going to say we had the added advantage on our own dime of having our wives there, who are professional women who have talents in various areas. My wife only came to the sessions on Saturday morning and said she wished she had attended them all because she truly learned something. And number two, when Matt and Kate, his wife, Katie, and my wife, Linda, were sitting around at lunch or dinner or something, we had the added involvement of two citizens that have a different set of expertise than Matt and I do. And we ran through some pretty good subjects. So if it was only Matt and I sitting there saying, okay, what did we say when we were elected that we would do? What have we done? How could we improve it? What are the things we're missing? Bouncing it off two citizens. And our wives are pretty tough on us. I would say that those conversations wouldn't occur normally, and were very valuable. And I was, quite frankly, I was very surprised that my wife said she wished she had attended them all.
Well, we attended it once, and I agree with the offline discussions, the rooms, the social hours,
Yeah.
Those kind of things looked like that was where a lot of the activity was.
And we have an advantage too, because Harlan's right at the center.
Mm-hmm.
Harlan and the other attorney,
Chuck Means.
put together the agenda.
Yeah.
And so they were right in the center. And so Matt and I advantaged from that because we were in some of the social settings, where the core group was in attendance, which a township of 1,900 people wouldn't normally get. So it was good.
Okay.
And again, I do recommend it for next year.
Anything else?
I have just a few things to mention under new business. RJ already hit on the recycling day. You have a flyer in your packet. Usually well attended. If things continue the way, they had in the past with the recycling days, we may be eligible or up for hosting in May because our site's we have a good place to put traffic. So we may end up doing that in May. In your packet, you also have the training.
And I would add that we should, what does it cost us to host that?
We have to pay the guys because we need our guys here, so
Yeah.
it costs us a little bit.
And they don't pay, they don't offset that?
They offset a little bit, but
Well, I think that,
it's kind of, whoever hosts kind of contributes their time and staff.
my take is that it's beneficial to our residents to have it be nearby, because when it is at the other end of the cog, nobody comes. I worked the May Day this year, and I think I can't tell you specifically because we don't have the statistics, but just sort of as a rule of thumb, there were very few Aleppo residents there.
Mhm.
But again, that's because it was on the other end of the cog. So I would encourage us whenever we can,
We're central. I mean, we're.
and we're
right,
probably
central.
we probably are a great
It is.
traffic pattern.
We have two huge parking lots to put things in, and people can go down to the end, turn around,
It
loop up
would
and
be
get in line.
much more. So
Yeah, we're not blocking things.
Swiftly is tough, but
They're central.
they're central, and you get the visual appeal of it. Oh, there's something going on there. Let me run home and get my paint.
Yeah.
You do.
But it was a success when it was hosted here. Okay, what George is holding up is this other thing I know. The Department of Homeland Security Student ID. This is from Judy. Everyone needs to log in and get your student ID and password before the training session that we have scheduled with her on October, I can see the calendar, 26th. So everybody has to log in. You have to because you'll need this to do the training, and it sometimes takes a little time to get the answer back from them, to send away for the password.
Because Tony is not here and because we're all busy. Would you send an email reminding us?
Yes.
And those are the instructions on
These are
what
the,
you have to
Judy, I
do.
got this from Judy. I haven't tried it myself yet, but these are the step-by-step instructions on how to do it. Matt has done it and said it works.
Yeah, I'll say that I'm not entirely convinced that that's everything you need to do, but I'm very, very deferential, Judy, to you and your knowledge. But I feel as if when I went through it,
It was more complicated.
there was another step that took a longer turnaround. This happened right away, the getting the Homeland Security, but I feel as if you needed to set up something else before you could do that. So I don't know, but all I'm saying is I would suggest that you do it
This week.
soon rather than waiting
In
until the
case
night
there's
before.
something else
Yeah.
next week. Okay. And then I have one other thing that came up today. I got a call from the contractors that are working on Waterworks Road. And they said that it is taking some time, it's taking longer than they thought to drill whatever it is they're drilling. And they're requesting, they know that most ordinances allow them to work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And they're requesting from all the different municipalities permission to work until 10:30 p.m. I checked with Sewickley, they're gonna bring it up to their, if they're willing, is also 7 A to 7 P. And they basically work from 6:30 to about 7 now, but they want to work till 10:30 and they think that will get things done sooner.
How
That's all I know.
noisy is it?
So do we have to approve it?
Yeah, I'm not even clear on how that would work. Can the board just make a motion to amend the working hours of the ordinance? Is it a special
Temporary.
permission, temporary? I don't know.
I
We've
think
never
you could
had
probably
this.
do it temporarily since you're not changing, you're only doing it on a per project.
How much of it is in Aleppo Township?
A short section. Waterworks, we have residents on Waterworks. Right across from the actual Waterworks is where our section is.
Well,
I think your residents might not be happy.
Yeah, I don't-
10:30 at night. I mean, I've already heard complaints that the properties on McCoy, on the other side of the road, back, their
They're up on the
property
hill above
backs down,
Waterworks.
right, onto Waterworks. And I guess there's that the shooting gallery. It's not ours. Is it?
There might be a police training thing down there.
I don't know, but there's something down there and they hear the guns shooting all the time and
How many days do you think this would take? You said it's just a sort.
They did not say, they said it was a short amount of time. Do you want me to kind of do some more
find out
research
more
this week
stuff,
and
yeah.
find out for next week?
Yeah, and I think the other question I'd want to have is,
Procedure.
how it works, procedurally. That I would be a little less than convinced that you can just
Change it.
Have they asked officially?
He just called and I said, I haven't the faintest idea. No one's ever asked this. I'll ask and get back to you. And I haven't gotten back to him. So,
No,
he
we
said
need more
mainly it's not
information.
Aleppo, but there's a little portion, so, okay, maybe something written.
Yeah. Okay, citizens.
Whoops, she has something. Who are you?
Charlotte Pierce of Masonic Village. And this really isn't Aleppo, but I have been asked 3 times in the last week, does anyone know what's happening with the big landfall on Camp Meeting Road? Near the Espark Legacy Fields? And it's in Bell Acres, I know.
There's a landfall?
Well, they have it's a 1-lane road because on that bend
Oh,
on
yeah,
Camp
yeah,
Meeting
yeah.
Road, they have a huge
Cave in.
landslide.
Yeah.
hole pit. And I've been asked 3 times, 3 different people. I don't know why they think I should know. Whatever.
Well, that's
I'm
not
I'm
Camp,
sharing it with all of you. Does
that's
anyone
not
know?
Camp Meeting Road.
Pardon?
That's Fern Hollow. That's not.
No, that's on Camp Meeting Road. Camp Meeting Road.
Well, the field is not on Camp Meeting Road.
Esmark Legacy Fields.
The big one up on the top of the
Oh,
hill
I know what you're talking about.
And as
That's
you're
Camp
coming
Meeting.
off,
extension.
Camp
Camp
Maybe
Meeting
it's
Road.
extension,
Camp
Camp
Meeting
Meeting Road
extension.
extension then.
No, it's not Camp Meeting Extension, it's Camp
Okay.
Meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, Camp Meeting Extension continues on down And
Okay.
that's a mess, but this is the actual Camp Meeting Road that comes around and then goes on down into.
I would suggest calling Bell Acres.
Well, I was just wondering if
Yeah, no,
anyone.
I don't know anything, but
Yeah, I was
I'm
just
sure Bell
wondering.
Acres has a report.
Yeah, I will, but it's a mess.
It's a major project.
Oh my God, it's awful. It's been a year.
Well, on that positive note,
I move
Thank
to
you.
adjourn.
second,
I second.
Thank you.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So it is.
Okey dokey dokey.
Give you this.
Oh, 1
Did you
hour?
get a copy on how to sign in?
Pretty good.